Hi everyone and welcome to my very first YouTube tutorial where I'm going to be drawing the running hare from my new book, Woodland Watercolor. So I'll pop a copy of that here. Just as a little reminder, what I'm going to be doing today is recreating one of the drawings. So all of the drawings in this colouring workbook are pen and ink drawings. So I essentially use a dip pen and a nib dipped into black Indian ink and then drawn freehand. So what I've done here to recreate the image is to use a light box and to trace the image essentially, and then I'll be going freehand. So it won't be exactly the same as the other image in the book, but you'll get a pretty good idea of how I do it. So this is a Leonard 256 nib, and don't laugh, okay, but here I have a potato and it's really useful when you're first using a nib to dip it in potato, and I do not know why, but I have always done this. I think it does something to, it takes like a surface off the of coating on the actual nib, but it really does work. So I'm gonna grab a tissue, it really does work and it holds the ink better. So I don't know if it's just slightly less shiny now, but there we go. Right, this is my little box of nibs. So you start by dipping the ink in, and I probably tap it on the side just to get some off. So you can see that I've got a little bit on the well, on the reservoir here, but not too much. And I always start with the most important thing in the piece, which is the hare, because if I get the hare wrong, basically I have to start again. So I thought I'd give it a go with the hare and just and get cracking. So here we go. I'm going to start with the nose. I'm probably a little bit more tentative on here because it's my first YouTube video, but there we go. Instead of drawing a straight line, what I'm doing is breaking up the line with tiny little lines. I try and keep a continuous line wherever I can, because I think it looks a little bit more fluent and fluid if you keep the lines clean and straight. But it's also nice to get a little bit of the hare's texture. So I've got his little nose there. Right, then we go straight onto his ears. So I'm essentially drawing over my drawing, which is kind of reassuring, because if I was doing this freehand, I'd be panicking about the shape of the nose and where the eyes should be, and to be honest with you, we can just rubble that out at the end, so we don't need to worry about that at all. So lots of nice, loose, quick little lines to indicate the sort of hairy bit of the ear here. Oh, and a tiny little flick. I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of a flick right there of ink, but that just adds to the charm, really, doesn't it? So we'll just have to do that, leave that there. Right, the eyes. The eyes give the whole piece character, so I'm being really super careful with those. So there we go. This one's a little bit more doe-eyed maybe than the one in the book, but that doesn't matter. He's just a friendly little hare. A few little line marks on his face to indicate that he's got nice soft fur, and behind his ear I'm going to go straight into some line work, some broken lines, and then over across his back I'm going to go with one slightly thicker line. I'm pressing down harder with the dip pen, and that makes the lines slightly thicker. So here we go. And then his bum goes around here, it's like a little curve, and I'm going to meet this one up. So I'm essentially just going with the outline of the hair first of all, just to get the basics in, just so I know it's not wrong and I don't have to start again. Here I'm going to do a few little lines there to indicate his fur, and then his little toes. Do hares have toes? I don't know. Right, so here it looks like I've got an overlapping leaf that I'm going to be drawing in. So rather than doing a continuous line, I'm going to draw that in here quickly. And then I'm going to draw the hair behind it. So that adds a little bit of movement really to the piece, because, you know, it's not just an outline then, it's, you know, it's got a foreground and a background. Right, so we're getting there. I might just fill in this little hare's fur. So I'm going to do that quite quickly because I think it's nice to have a little bit of movement, and you can indicate the shape of the hare's body by the direction that you're doing these little lines in. So here we are, a few little lines there, some under his neck, a few more in his face, I think. I'm just going freestyle, to be honest with you, just I want quite a few. The one tricky thing about using pen and ink is that you can so easily smudge it. So when I'm drawing over this bit here, I'm making sure that the bottom bit of my hand doesn't accidentally smudge this over. I've done that so many times and it's so frustrating. So that's why often people will start at the top and then work their way down. But in this case, I think I'm going to just try and lift my hand off the page a little bit. So I guess the more experienced you are, I guess it's easier to do that. So you could just wait if you're using a pen and ink dip pen. You could just wait until the main bit of the drawing is dried and then crack on with the rest. So you can see he's starting to look a little bit more kind of hairy, for want of a better word. Here we go. Right. There's a few more little lines on here, on his foot. And because this is behind, I want it to look a little bit darker, so I'm doing more shadow on there. Right, I think we are nearly there. It needs a little bit more shadow on his ear. Again, I'm lifting my hand up so I don't smudge his leg, because that would be sad. Right, and I'm probably going to get started on maybe on this bit up here and then moving back round to this side. So I'm going to move the ink to the other side, so I've got plenty of room with my hand, so I can kind of lift my hand off the picture when I'm drawing, because I don't want to make any mistakes, you know, I'd rather not. I'm going to move this bookie over here. Right, there we go. So I'm going to start with these sheaths of corn over here, and I'm pressing down my brush, my dip pen, so you can see you get a thicker or a thinner line. It's a little bit awkward to do this because my hand isn't naturally placed, but never mind. I did want to draw the hair first, because if I got that wrong, I'd basically just have to restart the drawing, because it's such a central focus of the piece. So right here next, we have these little, oh, I nearly smudged it. See, did you see my hand? Just wandering off. I'm trying to lift it off. So I'm using this little bit of my my finger to kind of prop my hand up while I'm drawing. Right, let's see. It's got some curly little tendrily bits here. And then I'm going to move on to the next one. So as it goes along, should hopefully speed up a bit. I feel like I'm going quite slowly. Normally when I'm drawing, it's from my imagination, so that's the fun bit really. You can just go where the line takes you. Okay, so this has got some sort of nice outery bit, which looks nice. And the curvy bit into the stem, there, where it meets the corn. Is this corn or wheat? I'm a farmer's wife, I should know these things really, shouldn't I? Here we are, we're going to have this little leaf, this other little leaf coming from behind the hare's ear. And then, I do know what this is. This is barley. I'm about to draw some barley. So I'm going to finish this one little stem, which is the curly casing on the, let's call it wheat, because I think it's more wheatish than barleyish, than barley. Right, so this is, I think, oats. They're little tiny oats, and they sit in sort of frilly little pods, like this, sort of seed pods. And they're really nice to put in dried flower arrangements, actually, apart from having them for breakfast, you know, in your porridge. But as a plant, they're very attractive. Here we are. And they're quite fun to draw because you've got two different parts. You've got the little round pod and then you've got the lovely delicate stems. So here behind his ear, we've got another little wiggly leaf. I don't know what that's doing, but I'm going to just draw him in. Hope for the best. Whoop. Hopefully he won't look like an extra ear. And then I'm going to get this little leaf over here. So he's sort of tucked behind the hair and adds a little bit of movement to him. So he looks like he's really burrowed in the into the wildflowers. Right, I really am rambling, aren't I? Okay. So let's see. Here we have some loose little stems. They're quite gestural and not really representational. Flowers don't look like that really, do they? But that doesn't matter. That's just the fun of drawing exactly what you want. So these are little poppy seed heads, dried flower seed heads, which I love drawing actually because they're such an interesting shape. They have that frill at the top and then the round bulbous bit. Right, now we're going to do the outside petal. Here we are, with some little lines to indicate the direction. So this is sort of opening out, slightly outward sort of frill going on. There we are. And then in the middle, some little lines, lovely little stems. Delightful. Right, there we go. And this flower's nearly done. So you can see he's starting to come along. He's starting to nestle into these wildflowers. Behind is a dried, I think it's a cow parsley, basically a cow parsley seed head. So this is sort of has a bit of an autumnal vibe to it, with these dried seed heads and autumn flowers. This is a slightly impressionistic cornflower. You know, I did imagine these to be sort of blue, but they don't have to be blue. You can paint them whatever colour you like. Here we are. And cornflowers don't look like that. They really have a bit more of a ruffle to them, but that's just how I drew them at the time. Right, we've got another little leaf coming from this, I think is a poppy. It's supposed to be a poppy. And it's hard to tell when you're originally drawing what you're actually thinking of, or the reference images you were looking at. It becomes a bit of an amalgamation of lots of different things you're looking at. Lots of reference books of wildflower pages, seeds come in, seeds that I draw often just wind their way in, and then it's you know, it's hard to tell where it, where elements of it originate from, to be honest. There we go. Okay, so you've got the innards of these, so they're going in different directions, which makes it a little bit nicer. Right, here we go. I'm just going to check my filming is working. Yes, it is still going. This is good. Right, so we're nearly finished with that cornflower. A bit more liney detail on there. And then maybe a little stem behind. And then we see, I think there's another little cornflower up here. So I'm just going to be a bit looser with this one. It's fun to do it in a continuous line. It's sort of jaggedy kind of shaped. This brush, I keep calling it a brush, this nib is quite rigid. I like a solid nib, so I like to be able to have, you know, as much control as possible. You can get quite flexible nibs, which means that when you're putting the ink down, this sort of bends a little bit, and then when you press down, the nib goes apart, so it increases the width of the line. But I like quite a rigid nib for drawing, because I like control. You know, I really do have to press down quite hard. I'll show you in a second with the middle line of this. I'm just lightly drawing here, but if I want this to be thicker, you know, as you can see, I'm pressing down on it quite hard to get that thicker line, and I like that personally. Right, here we are, that's some other lovely little lines. A little head here, a little bud of the cornflower that I must not forget to draw in. There we go. So I'm going to be doing lots of tutorials on here in the coming months, mainly from my colouring book. So if you like this, there'll be more where that came from. Hopefully. Assuming people don't tell me it's rubbish. There we go. So I've got a bit off piece with the lines here. I haven't really stuck to the lines, which isn't ideal because I'm trying to make a duplicate, but just that happens sometimes, you know. And it's good to not feel too precious about these things. You can just do it again if you don't like the drawing at the end. Or you can just paint over it. You could paint over it with like an opaque medium like gouache, and then you couldn't even see these lines. Or you could use watercolour, which is what I'm going to use in my book soon. Right, so a little leaf here behind his leg, his paw. I'm assuming it's a paw, you know, a la Peter Rabbit. Right, some little leaves here. I've got one more leaf to come behind here. And then I'm going to draw this one in. Right, let's see, shall we? So we've pretty much nearly filled up that entire page. What I'm going to do is twist this a little bit just so I can access this little flower here, because I'm still conscious that this bit might still be a bit wet. So I'll start with the outside petal. I haven't really been paying attention to how much I'm dipping my pen in the pot of ink, but I'm assuming it's probably quite a lot. You have to tell me, I have no idea. A lot of this is second nature to me, so I do it quite a lot for work, so I have no idea. Right, then I don't want to forget this middle bit of the poppy, and then lots of little round bally bits. Right, here we go. There we are. So he's starting to take a little bit more shape. I think you could do another frilly sort of leaf around, petal around here, so I'm going to add that in. And then maybe a little bit more here of the old frilly what's-its. There we go. And then we're going to get onto this leaf here. And there's one, let's see, there's one little stray leaf that looks in my original drawing to be curving out like this. Right, yes. Okay. I'm just going to fill in a little bit more detail because that makes it more fun to colour, to be honest with you. The more detail there is, the more jolly it is to colour. So I'm going to go to this big petal here. We're going to do the centre and these little liney bits. Let's see. Right, there we go. 1 second. This petal here. This is showing a little bit of the underside of the petal. So it looks a little bit more realistic and kind of frilly, really. There we go. There we go, some upturned leaves. When I'm absorbed with drawing, it's kind of hard to remember to talk. Maybe I need to record a voiceover for this instead, or it's going to sound a little bit strange. Right, we've got this little frilly leaf at the side here. I'm just going to finish off that plant before I get started on this flower, although I'm tempted to just crack on with the flower. Right, there we go. Here we are, so let's do this little flower. I'm going to start with the inner bits here first, little round twiddly bits, and then just the lovely petals. There we go. And this is another one that's kind of similar shaped, but the petals are a little bit rounder. And to be honest with you, I don't think this is modelled on anything. I think I made it up. Unless you can tell me what it looks like. I've no doubt you will. Right. And this is a bit like an echinacea kind of flower, you know, with the pointy bit that sticks up, and then the petals that sort of point downwards. I bet there's a technical term for that, isn't there? There we go, and I think there's a nice little pointy bit of grass there. And this leaf has got slightly jaggedy edges, which it's nice to mix it up so the edges of your leaves aren't always smooth. You know, it adds a bit of variety, doesn't it, to a drawing to have different shapes and patterns. So this one here, I'm starting, it seems, with the centres of the flowers. I didn't know I did that. Discovering all sorts of things today. There we go. Whoa, there we go. Ooh. So I draw the outlines first, and then I just do some lovely little lines. Now I do know the names of these flowers. It's a weed, and I cannot for the life of me think of it. We've got some on our track. They're white normally. I think you can get them in a pale pinky purple colour too. Again, someone else is going to have to tell me what they are because I have no idea. Right, so we're going to do the dotty lines to suggest the middle of the flower here. And then some pointy downward shaped leaves. There we are. And there we go. There's a few little dots on here. There we go. So these flowers are coming along nicely. This is taking much quicker than I thought. Pressing down a bit harder to get some weight in that line. So we've got a bit of black in there. And this one's a nice fluid shaped leaf. It's kind of curling out and out. So the end I'm making a little bit pointy, and the line to indicate the central bit of the leaf I'm making a little bit curved too. I think there's one more little flower behind here. And then this one, which has got, I think, I know what it's called, a vein. The leaf's vein, I should know this. And this is a big, thick sort of leaf. It looks a bit like a lily of the valley leaf. As you can see, I've got on my desk some lovely lily of the valley, which smell beautiful. Basically, my garden is a little bit barren at the moment, apart from hundreds of lily of the valley. And it turns out they're quite pervasive. They just seem to be covering all ground in my garden. I'm going to have it covered in lily of the valley. So it will smell nice for about 3 weeks of the year, and the rest of the time it will look dreadful. Right, here we go. I'm going to go with this lovely frilly leaf of the poppy. Pretty sure that's poppy. Looks like a poppy to me. And then this one again, you can see the outside edge of the leaf. There we go. Perfect. And right, and some little filler lines there. This is taking much quicker than I thought. So I think this flower here is actually a rose, supposed to be a rose hip. I can tell that because of the leaf that I've drawn in, a rose hip flower, because that seems to be the shape. Right, there's a nice leaf on here. I'm going to draw in with a curly stem. There we go. And here we go. That was a quick little flower. I'm just filling in here. And I like the shape of this one. I put these all over it, all over the drawing, I mean. These kind of longish stems with a really pretty wiggly line, sort of outline. Right, let's just finish this one off quickly. I wonder if it might be helpful to see the drawing from the side. I'm just going to try for a second. So I'm going to try the rest of this drawing from this angle. so you've got a feel for you can really see the brush, there I go again, it's not a brush, so I can really see the pen at work. You can see I'm pressing down to get a slightly thicker edge to these petals. There we go. Right, there we go. I don't know what you can see here, but hopefully a bit of drawing, if not a large bit of hand. There we go with the stem. And this final flower here, a little bit of a flourish. There's a tiny little flower in the foreground right here. Which I will just finish off. There we go, the leaf. And then here we go. There we are. I think that's pretty much finished. Let's just have a little look. I might zoom out quickly and have a look and see how we're getting on. I'm just going to add a couple of final little tweaks here and there, little filler lines, so maybe some stems here between the hare's paws, an extra, just by eye, looking and seeing where there might be something missing, or it might look prettier if there is a different line. I think we're pretty much there. Maybe a few little bits coming off here. You know, a little bit of frilly petalness. There we are. And I think I could do with a leaf up here. I think I've drawn in a leaf, but I didn't finish it. Oh, I'm trying to lift my hand off so I don't wreck the drawing in the meantime. So I'm a little bit wobbly. Right, I just need to sort out his nose. Has a tiny little bit more of a line on it there. And maybe a little bit more around his eye. And a tiny bit around his nose. But then I think I'm pretty much there. What do you reckon? There we go. Perfect. So that is my wildflower hare. Make sure before I check my book, I've got clean hands. So this little hare, as you can see, features in my new book, my new colouring book. So this is one for you to colour in if you have a copy of my book with watercolour. That's just a little bit of background on how I created these drawings for, there we are, you can see the two. So you can just see how I created these pen and ink drawings for my new book. Thanks for watching, everybody.